Since 4th and 3rd class engineering exams are multiple choice exams, it is important for the student to develop the special skills required to successfully answer multiple choice questions. The following are some tips that will help you develop these skills. Number 1, practice. The more multiple choice questions you answer, the better you will do on exams. The reasons are twofold. 1. Practice makes perfect. 2. The more questions you answer, the better the chance you will see a similar question on an exam. Two, eliminate obvious wrong choices. Eliminating choices that you are sure are incorrect can often reduce your choice to one or two possibilities. Three, multiple choice questions and study habits. The multiple choice question format limits the type of question an examiner can ask. For example, you can't be asked a question such as a sketch and describe type question. Students should use this to their benefit. As a student develops skills answering multiple choice questions, they should be able to spot potential multiple choice questions in the lecture material they are studying. Another advantage of a multiple choice question is revealed in problem-solving questions. If you calculate an answer that's not an option, you can recheck your answer. Conversely, if we get an answer that is a choice on the answer sheet, you know you have the right answer. Types of multiple choice questions. Realize there are two types of multiple choice questions. In the first type, the choices are listed directly below the question. In the second type of multiple choice question, possible correct answers are listed below the question, and from the options the student has to choose the correct combination of choices. The question above is a multiple choice question of the direct type, or type 1, because the possible options are listed directly below the question. The multiple choice question shown below is an example of a type 2 question and is a little bit more complex. Some students find type 2 questions confusing, but they can work to your advantage if you use the power of elimination. For example, if in the above question you knew number 3 was a correct choice, you could eliminate options A, C, and E because they don't contain a number 3 choice. Read questions thoroughly. Tip number 5. The obvious answer may not be the correct one. This type of question is called a bait question, and it tests a student's attention to detail. Question number 2 is what we would call a bait question. Two properties are dropped from an airplane at the same time from a height of 100 meters. The first body has a mass of 100 kilograms and the second one has a mass of 50 kilograms. Neglecting air resistance, how much sooner does the first object strike the ground compared to the second? At first glance, the above question may appear to be complex or unsolvable. and the student may be tempted to choose option E, but the correct answer is C, as all objects will free fall at the same acceleration rate of 9.81 meters per second squared. A hidden clue would be the phrase, quote, neglecting air resistance, end of quote. So the question requires no calculation at all. Watch your units. There are three common ways you can run into trouble with units. The first one is you have to be aware of information given in mixed units. The problem highlighted above is one with mixed units. It asks to find the velocity ratio of a wheel and axle. The velocity ratio of a wheel and axle equals the diameter of the wheel divided by the diameter of the axle, or the radius of the wheel divided by the radius of the axle. In this case, we have to convert either the diameter of the wheel to the radius or the radius of the axle to the diameter. We also have to change the units of either the wheel or axle so they are both in meters or centimeters. Let's change the axle radius to diameter. So the axle diameter equals the axle radius times 2. So in this case, the axle diameter works out to 40 centimeters. Step 2, let's change the axle diameter from centimeters to meters. So we divide 40 centimeters by 100, it gives us 0.4 meters. Therefore, we use the formula velocity ratio equals diameter of the wheel divided by the diameter of the axle, and we get 1.2 meters divided by 0.4 meters and gives us a velocity ratio of 3. Be aware that some properties have to be in certain units. For example, the formula for stress states stress equals load divided by the area. The stress and load can be in multiples of the base units, pascals and newtons, for example kilopascals and kilonewtons, but area always has to be in meters squared. Know how to convert between multiples of square and cube units. For example, 1 meter squared equals 100 centimeters times 100 centimeters, or 10,000 square centimeters. 1 meter cubed equals 1,000 millimeters times 1,000 millimeters times 1,000 millimeters, or 1 billion millimeters cubed. Tip 7. Beware of unnecessary information. Realize you may be given more information than you need to solve a problem. This information can lead you astray. If you have a good understanding of the theory and equations involved and have developed good problem-solving skills, you should be able to weed out unnecessary information. The highlighted problem is one in which we are given too much information. For example, we do not need to know the box or floor size to solve the problem. We just need to know the object's mass, which we turn into weight, and the applied force, which we're given as 236 newtons. Step 1, we change mass to weight by multiplying by 9.81 meters per second squared. Step 2, we find the normal reaction force, which equals the weight. Step 3, we find the maximum static friction force, which equals the applied force. Using the maximum static friction force and the normal reaction force Rm, we can then use the formula the coefficient of static friction equals the maximum static friction force divided by the normal reaction force. Oh, did I mention practice?